Hola estudiantes, hoy vamos a aprender sobre los adjetivos. Los adjetivos en español son locos, muy locos, como este chico es loco. I hope that by the end of this video, you will not feel the same as this guy right here. Okay, los adjetivos en español. Vamos. So, the first thing you need to know is that Spanish is not English. Okay? So, many of the things in this video are not going to translate literally to anything that you know in English. Okay? Think of it as a separate language. You're not translating word for word. The first thing is that adjectives in Spanish go after the nouns. Okay, the noun is the thing, the adjective is the description. So it's kind of like how Yoda talks, okay? Everything's a little bit backwards. For example, we say el pupitre grande, not el grande pupitre. We say la chica atrevida. We do not say la atrevida chica, okay? I kind of like this about Spanish because it tells you the most important piece of information first. It tells you what you're talking about before describing it. So maybe that will help you remember how Spanish works, okay? It kind of makes sense. You tell what you're describing and then you describe it. El pupitre grande, la chica atrevida. Okay, so that's the first thing. Why don't we try a couple of examples? Which of these is correct? El proyector negro o el negro proyector? I hope that you said that el proyector negro is correct because that means the black projector. Okay, we're describing the projector, so the projector comes first and then the description. Let's try another one. Which is correct? El perfecto chico o el chico perfecto? Sí, el chico perfecto es correcto. El chico es primero y segundo el adjetivo, perfecto. One more. Which is correct? La grande clase o la clase grande? Sí, la clase grande. The other thing that you need to remember about adjectives in Spanish is that they must match. This is not at all like English, okay? We talk about a small puppy, a small boy, a small girl, a small house. We always use the same adjective, okay? But in Spanish it changes. The ending changes depending on who or what you're talking about. So you know that when we describe a girl, we use adjectives ending in A, like bonita, alta, okay? But to describe a boy, we use adjectives ending in O. Alto, guapo. But you now know that all nouns in Spanish have a gender. We learned about it last week. So, the adjectives work the same way. All nouns have to have adjectives that match because all nouns in Spanish have a gender. So, how do you make it match? Well, you have to look at the noun first, okay? Is the word feminine or is it masculine? And how many of those objects are we describing? Here we have la bandera, el cuaderno, y los perros, okay? So, la bandera is feminine because it ends in A and goes with la bandera. Cuaderno ends with O and goes with el, so it's masculine, el cuaderno. And there are lots of puppies, so that's plural, los perros. Our adjectives work the same way. We don't say the puppies are small. We say the puppies smalls because they're all small. Okay? This is very different from English, so let's practice that a little bit. You can think of these as Dr. Seuss adjectives because Dr. Seuss likes to make everything rhyme. Okay, so we're going to make it all rhyme. We're going to match the nouns to the adjectives in gender and number. For example, la bandera is feminine, so we say la bandera roja. All of them end in A. La bandera roja. If we have something plural, like los ojos, the eyes, we also make the adjective plural. Los ojos verdes. Okay, because both the eyes are greens. And if we have something that's both feminine and plural, such as las chicas, we say las chicas divertidas. We make the adjective both feminine and plural. Okay, this will probably take some practice for you to master, but I'm confident that you'll be able to get it because it follows a very distinct pattern, and you guys are great at patterns. So let's look at some examples. How would you say the red fruit? Would it be la fruta rojo or la fruta roja? Sí, la fruta roja es correcta porque la fruta roja es todo femenina. Okay, it's all feminine. They all end in A. La fruta roja. That's an easy one. Let's try another. How would you say the black computer? La computadora negra, las computadoras negros, la computadora negro o el negro computadora. Sí. A, la computadora negra es correcta. Okay? Computadora is a feminine word, so it goes with la, and any adjectives that describe it should also end in a. La computadora negra is correct. How would you say the tall boys? Okay, we've got multiple boys. Would it be los chicos altas, los chicos altos, los altos chicos, o los altos chico? Sí. B, los chicos altos, es correcto. Okay. Los chicos is plural, so we have to make alto plural as well by adding an S. Los chicos altos. What about the funny girl? Would it be la chica gracioso, la graciosa chica, la chica graciosa, o el chica gracioso? ¿Sí? C, la chica graciosa, es correcto. Okay? The girl is feminine, so her adjective also has to be feminine, and it needs to come after the noun. La chica graciosa. And how would you say the stupid heads? Would it be las cabezas estúpida, las cabezas estúpidas, las estúpidas cabezas, o las cabezas estúpido? Now, heads do not belong specifically to boys or girls, so you have to think, what's the gender of the noun? Okay? Remember that we find out the gender of the noun by looking at the end of the word. B, las cabezas estúpidas es correcto. Okay, las cabezas is feminine and plural because it ends in AS. We have multiple heads, they end in A. Las cabezas estúpidas all matches. So let's try one without answer choices. How would you say the boring movie? Now let's think about this. You think, how do you say the movie? You decide whether that noun is feminine or masculine. Is it singular or plural? And then you make the adjective boring match. Okay, that's kind of a long process, so I'll give you a second to think about it. Es la película aburrida. Okay, la película is the movie. It's feminine because it ends with A and goes with la. La película. There's only one movie, so it's singular, and we need to make all of that match with boring, aburrido. So we change the O of aburrido to an A and say la película aburrida. Alright, one more. How do you say the funny books? First we think, how do I say book? Then we make it plural, books. And we decide, is that feminine or masculine? And then you make your adjective funny match. Let's see if you got it right. Los libros graciosos is correct. Libro is a masculine word because it ends with O. To make it plural, we change el libro into los libros. Then we make gracioso match all of that, and we get los libros graciosos. Okay? Now, I don't expect you to be perfect at this right away, but I hope that you understand the main concept, and we'll be doing lots of practice in class. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.